welcome to this webisode of Triple R. Now I want to talk about a brand called Nokia, and in specific, Nokia's resurgence today. It may not be fresh in everybody's mind, but at one stage, Nokia dominated the handphone. Brands like Samsung and Huawei were unheard of. Out of every 10 phones that you saw, 6 to 7 of them were Nokia globally. That means it wasn't a phenomenon in just one country. It was a phenomenon globally. Today, I don't think any brand could shout that kind of dominance. However, the brand has gone through some tough times. Having been bought by Microsoft and then subsequently sold, a company called HMD has now brought the Nokia brand back. They've launched a couple of phones recently, but I want to look at one in particular, their flagship, the Nokia 8. Now, to begin, I want to say this. I'm very conflicted by this phone because I love it. I love the design, I love the outlook. It has every makings of a supermodel. It's sexy, premium looking, drop dead gorgeous. I love the aluminium finish. It's brushed aluminium finish and barely visible lines where the screen actually meets the chassis. It also comes with flagship quality specs. 3 13 megapixel sensors, one in the front, 2 in the back, and one of them is a monochrome sensor. So it has Carl Zeiss optics tuning. So for those of you who don't know, Carl Zeiss makes lenses for glasses, for cameras. So it's a pedigree of sorts. So you have Carl Zeiss optics. It has the Snapdragon 835, the latest and greatest processor from Qualcomm. 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, yeah, you might say 4 gigs, it seems a bit low. But you have to bear in mind, even Google's own phone comes with 4 gig of RAM. And if Google doesn't think it needs more than 4 gig, what are the extra gigabytes of RAM actually for? Except to drive up cost, maybe? And it has a 5.3 inch screen, so it's not a humongous phone, it's just nice. It probably has one of the highest PPI's rating in the market at 554, if I remember correctly. 64 gig of internal memory. So the specs is the who and who of the flagship world. And to top it all off, this phone is not expensive. It's priced just above the 2,000 ringgit mark. So it's not expensive, but it has flagship credentials. On to the features. It hasn't omitted the 3.5 the headphone jack, so it's still here. USB Type-C. Doesn't say anything about it being waterproof though, but it is splash proof. So if you accidentally drop water on it, it will survive. And it also supports Qualcomm's other features, including quick charge. It has AC Wi-Fi, so it's up there in terms of specs with the best of this. From a UI perspective, the user interface that Nokia has decided to use is very, very quick. It's very snappy. It's almost stock Android. And they're typically very, very quick because there's little to no animation whatsoever and nothing holding it up. So that's one of the good things about it. And because it's almost stock Android, it gets timely updates. And by timely, as Nokia promised, my unit here has already been upgraded to Oreo. In fact, some of the other brands out there are still waiting for their Oreo update. So this one's already upgraded to Oreo, and in fact, recently, as early as or as late as yesterday, there was another security patch, something that Google had released, and already it's available for this. So you ask yourself the question, how many of you had phones where you had to wait for patches in 2 to 3 months? Now you might be thinking, yeah, but my phone doesn't have a problem, so the patch isn't out. To be honest, it's not that. It's just that because they have to test the patch, along with every other software that's in there, it takes time. And that's one thing Nokia 8 doesn't need to do. So that's one thing that I really like about it. It's really smooth, it's really quick. And the IPS panel in the front, you might say, oh, OLED's better, OLED's sharper, but I wouldn't fault this screen. It is just lovely. I mean, because of the resolution, it has a very, very beautiful screen. In fact, movies play on it just fine. I have no complaints whatsoever. Next up, the camera. Of course, with Carl Zeiss optics, you must be expecting the fact that the pictures is gorgeous. I would say the pictures are good. Daytime shots, when you have plenty of light, the camera takes beautiful pictures. It does, however, suffer from low light picture degradation. It's not as sharp as some of the other cameras out there. So in this respect, I was a little bit disappointed. From what I know and from what I understand about phones, I don't think they have a hardware issue. I believe it is a software problem. And when it came to the software for the camera, therein also lies another part that I would have loved to see more of. The camera is very, very basic. It just makes operating it very simple, but it lacks a lot of functions, that will allow you to maximize these two 13 megapixel lenses at the back and the tuning by Zeiss. The manual mode, for example, just allows you to set white balance and EV. You can't manually adjust the shutter speed, nor the ISO settings or the aperture. So it lacks features that side. And when it came to the low light, it just took very long to focus. And I know that a lot of reviewers out there have noted that the focusing on this tends to be a little bit iffy. I did, however, like its party piece. It does have two particular functions which I really like. The live bokeh mode allows me to use the camera to take a picture, or just as you're about to take the picture, to see the amount of bokeh or background effect you want to have. Right? And the other part is, after you take the picture, you can also continue to adjust that. So the live bokeh is very, very good. It's not even present in phones like Sony's Premium and XZ1, and I didn't see it in the OnePlus 5. In fact, this is very close to the OnePlus 5 in terms of specs and price, but this is a lot better. Next up, the front camera does take good selfies, and it also has a bit of a portrait mode. But its other party piece that I found really interesting was what Nokia calls dual view, but I think the locals have coined it the bothy. That I was able to take dual view videos and dual view pictures. And here are some of the samples. Now, the bothy mode is very interesting if you're doing a vlog or an interview type of situation where you're filming yourself and you're filming the background, the object of what you're talking about. So, I mean, it may be a new thing for YouTubers, perhaps even YouTubers like myself, to use this particular function in some of our videos. It also allows you to take stills. Now that kind of takes some getting used to, having you in one side of the picture and your back or whatever you're pointing at in the other side. Now in the video part of this is where I found it, well, you can find that it's a little bit difficult to get adjusted to, because optical image stabilization's in the back camera, however the front camera doesn't have. So as you're moving about, and you can see from the video again, the video of me is actually kind of bouncing along, whereas the video of the background is really, really smooth. The other thing that is support memory cards which has file storages other than FAT32. Now in this respect also, the competitive for this phone, like the OnePlus, doesn't have a micro SD slot. This one does. It also doesn't accept any OTGs, or plugging in a USB drive or a USB stick at the bottom that has file systems other than FAT32. So on one hand, it is beautiful and gorgeous, and you wish it would be able to do something a little bit more like some of the other phones. and that's missing. With all of the features in mind and the price, I do believe a software fix would remedy all of this. It would be able to get this really competitive. And I would love to see that, because Nokia is an iconic brand. It's been around for so long. If you're looking for a phone that costs somewhere around 500, take a look at the Nokia 8. I'm sure it won't disappoint. Okay guys, it's been fun. I've had a great time making the videos for you, and it is the new year. So happy new year, and I'll see you guys again. Cheers.